What I overheard my uncle tell me, I was 11 when I heard the thing outside my door, whispering my name. You should have opened the door. You should have let me in. My uncle said he trapped it, but I learned the truth in the room he forbade. I've waited for you. I was 11 that summer, staying with my Uncle Raymond in his crooked, moss-covered house on the edge of the woods. Everyone in the family called him eccentric, though most whispered another word when they thought I couldn't hear, cursed. He was a quiet man, usually, except when night fell. At night, something changed in him. His voice grew low and urgent. His silhouette shifted strangely in lamplight. And he spoke to himself. At least, that's what everyone assumed. It was on the third night of my stay, though I will write third only because memory insists on it, that I first overheard the conversation. It was after midnight. I woke to the sound of my uncle's boots pacing the hallway just outside my bedroom door. Slow, dragging steps, like he was forcing himself forward inch by inch. Then a muttering followed, hushed, trembling, but unmistakably him. Not tonight, he said. Please, not tonight. A second voice answered. Quiet. Breathless. And terribly, terribly wrong. I've already waited too long. I froze in my bed, my heartbeat thudding against the mattress like it was trying to warn me, trying to wake the house. My uncle's door was closed, but the second voice wasn't in his room. It wasn't in the hall. It was behind my door. Right beside me. I could feel it there, like cold fingers pressed against the wood. You promised, the voice whispered. You said you would take me back. My uncle's footsteps stopped completely. Silence throbbed in the hallway, heavy and brittle. I know what I said, he answered. But the boy is here. The boy. Me. Something like a smile pressed against the other side of my door. I never saw it. I only felt it, the way you feel a spider crawl along your arm before you see it. A pressure. A shape. A grin without a face. He can come too, the voice said. My uncle shouted then, not at me, not even at the voice, but at the house itself. Leave him out of this. The walls answered with a sound like deep breathing. I squeezed my eyes shut, hoping I was dreaming, that this was the kind of terror you wake from with a gasp and then laugh about. But I didn't wake. The voice didn't fade. Open the door, it whispered to me. Let me in. Let him finish what he started. My uncle's footsteps suddenly lunged toward my room. Do not open it, he roared. Do not listen to it. Something slammed, hard, against my door. Once. Twice. Then a third time, each impact making the hinges scream. I thought the door would splinter, that the thing behind it would come crawling in on all fours, dragging shadow and cold with it. But it didn't. Not then. Because my uncle began speaking again, except the voice wasn't his. It was deeper, older, and full of something that made the air go thin. And whatever he said, I do not remember. Not because the memory faded, but because something in that voice wiped the words out of me like chalk from a board. I only remember the door finally going still. And the feeling that the smile behind it hadn't gone away. It had only retreated. Waiting. Planning. For the next night. I didn't sleep after that night. I didn't even lie down. I sat upright in the corner of my bed, knees pulled to my chest, blanket wrapped around me so tightly it felt like armor. Every few minutes, I'd glance at the door, half expecting it to bow inward, bend, or breathe. My uncle never checked on me. I didn't hear him return to his room either. When the gray morning finally seeped through the curtains, the house looked like it had aged decades overnight. The wallpaper peeled a little more. The floors sighed with the strain of secrets. And my uncle, well, he looked as though he'd crawled out of the earth instead of his bed. He shuffled into the kitchen. Pale as bone dust, eyes glassy. When he saw me, he flinched, not out of fear, but recognition. Like he regretted letting me stay. "You heard it," he muttered. "Not a question. A sentence. A confession." I nodded. He lowered himself into a chair with a groan that sounded older than he was, and for the first time, I saw it, scratches along his arms. Not the random kind someone might get from the woods. No. These were deliberate. Evenly spaced. As if something had wrapped long fingers around his skin and squeezed. He noticed me staring. Pulled his sleeves down. "Whatever you think you heard," he said slowly, "you must not speak to it. You must not answer it. And above all things," he paused, throat bobbing. "Do not go into the locked room. The locked room. The one at the very end of the hall, the only door in the house that never seemed to gather dust, though I never saw him clean it. The one that had a lock older than the house itself, hammered from dark metal that seemed to swallow light." I didn't remember him ever mentioning it before. But something flickered in him when he said those words. Terror. Guilt. And something akin to longing? I didn't want to ask, but the question tumbled out anyway. "What's in there?" He shut his eyes. "Something I should have left in the woods." Before I could ask more, a soft tapping came from the ceiling. Tap. 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 Not frantic. Not random. A pattern. 3 slow taps, then silence. 3 more. My uncle stiffened, his breath halting like someone had pressed a hand over his mouth. "That's not it," he whispered. "That's just the house settling." But he was lying. The tremor in his voice made the lie obvious. The tapping continued, following us as we moved from room to room, as if something crawled quietly above the ceiling beams. Sometimes nearer. Sometimes farther. Always listening. By afternoon, I worked up the courage to ask about the voice, the one outside my door. "What does it want?" I asked. My uncle didn't look at me. "It wants what it was owed." "What do you owe it?" He flinched. "Not me." Then, softer, "Not just me." When night fell, he pushed a heavy dresser in front of my bedroom door. "Stay here," he said. "Do not open this door for anything. Not for me. Not for anyone who sounds like me." That night, I heard him pacing again. Heard the house breathing again. And sometime near the darkest part of the night, when dreams turned too real, I heard the voice again. But it wasn't whispering at my door this time. It was whispering through the vents. "You shouldn't trust him," it murmured, sliding through the metal like smoke and ice. "He's the one who brought me here." My blood ran cold. "You're lying," I said before I could stop myself. Silence. Then a long, delighted exhale. "So you can speak to me." My hand flew to my mouth. I hadn't meant to answer. I didn't want to answer. But something in that voice made the truth slip out like a loose thread pulled too far. The metal vent above my bed expanded inward, bending as though pressed by unseen fingers. "He kept me," the voice whispered. "Promised he would return me, but he never did." Pressed again. Harder. The screws squealed. "You should see what he's hiding. The room he forbade you. The locked room at the end of the hallway." The vent bowed inward again. "He fears you'll hear the rest," it said. "That you'll learn what he did. What he took. Why I followed him home." My heartbeat drowned out everything for a moment. The voice chuckled, dry, papery, like something smiling without lips. "Tomorrow," it whispered, "I will show you." The vent snapped back into place. And for the rest of the night, the house fell silent. Terrifyingly silent. As if everything inside it was waiting. I barely felt morning arrive. I only knew it had come because the shadows in my room softened, withdrawing the way animals retreat from something stronger than they are. But whatever lived in the vents the night before, it hadn't left. It had simply settled. Waiting. The way a spider waits for the tremble of its web. My uncle didn't speak to me at breakfast. Didn't even look at me. He moved stiffly, every motion weighted with dread. He poured coffee but never drank it. He kept glancing down the hallway, toward the locked room, like it were a well he once fell into and feared he might tumble into again. Finally, he said, "I'm going into town. I need supplies." But his tone said something different. That he needed courage he didn't have. That leaving the house had become a necessity, not a choice. "Stay inside," he warned. "Do not explore. Do not listen for it. And do not, under any circumstance, touch the locked door." He left before I could respond. The moment the door shut behind him, the house seemed to inhale. And all at once, I felt it everywhere, that grin I had sensed the first night. Stretched wide, silent, patient. The tapping began again. Not on the ceiling. Not in the vents. On the hallway floorboards. Tap. 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 Soft. Slow. Coming closer. I stepped backward until my shoulders met the wall. The tapping stopped outside my bedroom door. Then another sound whispered beneath it, fabric dragging. Like something crawling, not on hands, but on elbows. Pulling itself forward. "It's time," the voice crooned through the wood. "He won't tell you. But I will." My breath hitched. "You shouldn't be afraid of me," it continued. "Not when he's the one who brought me home." It pressed against the door, not forcefully, but gently, almost lovingly. "Come. See the room he hides. Open the door at the end of the hall." I didn't want to. Every instinct screamed to stay put, to barricade myself like my uncle had done the night before. But something else tugged at me, curiosity laced with fear, braided too tightly to separate. The house groaned. A hinge creaked. And my bedroom door, slowly opened on its own. No one stood there. But the hallway stretched before me, long and dim, ending at the door my uncle had forbidden. The locked room. The doorknob glistened with a faint line of scratches, as though something inside had tried to claw its way out for years. I stepped out. The house's air thickened. The shadows lengthened. With each step toward the forbidden room, the voice whispered above me, beside me, within the walls. He kept me. Bound me. Fed me his promises. But he never returned what he took. What did he take? I whispered. The voice shivered with delight. My name. I stood before the door now. Up close, the lock looked ancient, older than the house, older than my uncle. Dark metal that thrummed faintly, as though it were alive. Open it, the voice urged. He can't hide the truth forever. My hand trembled as I touched the knob. It turned. The door hadn't been locked at all. It swung inward with a sigh, releasing a cold so deep it felt like a forgotten winter had been trapped inside. The room was small, empty, except for one thing, a wooden chair in the center, with ropes hanging loose from its arms. Ropes frayed, as if they'd been gnawed through. On the floor around it, symbols carved into the wood, clumsy and desperate. The lines weren't straight. The circles weren't complete. A child could have drawn better. But they pulsed, faintly, like embers dying. My uncle had tried to contain something. And failed. Footsteps sounded behind me. Slow. Heavy. Familiar. My uncle. He stood in the doorway, face gray, eyes wide with a horror that matched the room. You opened it, he whispered, voice cracking. Dear God, you opened it. The lock wasn't engaged, I said. He shook. I never locked it. The only thing that kept it shut was its fear of me. A breath stirred the dust behind me. Cold. Hungry. My uncle pushed me aside. Run. I didn't move. He stepped into the room, though every part of him trembled. You want your name back, he shouted. Then take it from me. The room darkened. The shadows thickened. Something rose from behind the chair, thin-limbed, long-fingered, bending wrong in every direction. And smiling that same wide, impossible smile I had felt behind my door. It wasn't me you owed, my uncle whispered. It was my brother. A heartbeat of silence. Then the creature spoke, voice folding like wet paper, I know. It lunged. The house exploded with sound, splintering wood, shattering glass, the scream of something dragged screaming back into a world it never belonged to. I ran. I didn't look back. I didn't stop until I reached the road and saw my uncle's truck abandoned, engine still warm, door still open, as if something had reached him before he ever reached town. I never returned to that house. But at night, even now, years later, sometimes I hear tapping on my walls. Slow. Soft. Patient. Waiting for me to finish what my uncle started.